Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
All right, so you can start reading from text 4.
All right. Shri Shri Uvacha Chitam Te Diva Divasa Prapanang Nati Harachyuta Varinaita Vatalamno Yad Bhavan Samadrisyata. Translation. This age, the sage said, O Lord of Lords, all glories to you. O Lord Achyuta, you remove all distress for the devotee. We surrender down to you. That you have allowed me to see you. You have allowed me to see you is all the benediction I want. That you have allowed me to see you is all the benediction I want. Okay. Text. My computer running slow, man. Text 5. I don't know why the computer running slow. Text 5. Grihitva Jadu Jadayu Yasya Srimad Padabjadasanam Manasa Yoga Pavina Sabhavami Kasi Guchara. Translation. Such demigods as Lord Brahma achieve their exalted position simply by seeing your beautiful lotus feet, after their minds had become mature in yoga practice. And now, my Lord, you have personally appeared before me. Purport. Markandeya Rishi points out that exalted demigods like Lord Brahma achieve their position simply by glimpsing the Lord's lotus feet. And yet Markandeya's Rishi was now able to see Lord Krishna's entire body. Thus he could not even imagine the extent of his good fortune. Text 6. Athapi Ambuja Patraksha Punya Sloka Sikhamani Driks Ye Mayam Yaya Luka Sapalo Vidasa Dihitam. Translation. Ulu-eyed Lord, who crest jeweler of the renowned personalities, who I am satisfied simply by seeing you. I do wish to see your illusory potency, by whose influence the entire world, together with its ruling demigods, consider reality to be materially irrigated. Purport. A conditioned soul sees the material world to be constituted of independent, separate entities. Actually, all things are united, being potencies of the Supreme Lord. Markandeya Rishi, curious to witness the exact process by which Maya, the Lord's bewildering potency, casts living beings into illusion. Text 7. Shuta Uvacha Iti Dito Richita Kamam Vishina Bhagavam muni tatiti sasmayan pragat padai ashramam isvara. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, O wise Sunaka, thus satisfied by Markandeya's praise and worship, the Supreme Personality of Godhead smiling replied, to be it, and then departed for his hermitage at Badarik Ashram. Purport. The word Bhagavan and Isvara in this verse refers to the Supreme Lord in his incarnation as the twin sage Nara and Narayan. According to Srila Visvanatha Charavakti Thakur, the Supreme Lord smiled ruefully because he prefers that his pure devotees stay away from his illusory energy. Curiosity to see the illusory energy of the Lord sometimes develops into sinful material desires. Nonetheless, to please his devotees, Markandeya, Nonetheless, to please his devotees, Markandeya, the Lord granted his request. Just as a father who cannot convince his son to give up pursuing a harmful desire may let him experience some painful reaction so that he will then voluntarily desist. Thus, understanding that what would soon happen to Markandeya, the Lord smiled as he prepared to display the illusory potential to him.
All right. So you can hold it. So continuing from text 8-9.
Yeah.
Tam eva chintayanartam rishi swasrama eva sa vasan agni arkas somabhu bhuvayu vyat atmasu dhyayan sarvatra cha harim bhavadravyair apujayat kvachet pujam vishasmara prema prasara sampluta. Thinking always of his desire to see the Lord's illusory energy, the sage remained in his ashram, meditating constantly upon the Lord within fire, the sun, the moon, water, the earth, air, lightning, and his own heart, and worshipping him with paraphernalia conceived in his mind. But sometimes, overwhelmed by the waves of love for the Lord, Markandeya would forget to perform his regular worship. Purport. It is apparent from these verses that Markandeya Rishi was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Therefore, he wanted to see the illusory energy of the Lord, not to fulfill some material ambition, but to learn how his potency is working. Text 10. Tasyai kada brigo shreshta pushpa bhadra tate mone upasina sa sandhyayam brahman vayur abhun mahan. O Brahmana, Shaunak, best of the Brigus, one day while Markandeya was performing his evening worship on the bank of the Pushpabhadra, a great wind suddenly arose. Text 11. Tam chanda sabdam samudhiryantam balaka anvabhavan karala akshashtaivishta mumuchustadidhi smananta uchaira vivarshadhara. That wind created a terrible sound and brought in its wake fearsome clouds that were accompanied by lightning and thunder and roaring thunder, and that poured down on all sides torrents of rain as heavy as wagon wheels. Text 12. Tato vyadrishyanta chatu samudra samantatashma talam agrashanta samir vegor mibir ugranakra mahabhaya vritvarta gabhira gosha. Then the four great oceans appeared on all sides, swallowing up the surface of the earth with their wind-tossed waves. In these oceans were terrible sea monsters, fearful whirlpools, and ominous rumblings. And text 13. Antar bahis chadbir ati jubhikarai Sataradabir upatapitam jagat chaturvidham viksha sahatmana munir jalaplutam shmam vimana samastrasat. The sage saw all the inhabitants of the universe, including himself, tormented within and without by the harsh winds, bolts of lightning, and the great waves rising beyond the sky. As the whole earth flooded, he grew perplexed and fearful. Here the word Chaturvidam refers to the four sources of birth for the conditioned souls: embryos, eggs, seeds, and perspiration. In text 14, Tasyaivam udvikshata urmi bhishana prabhanjana gurnitavar maharnava apuryamano varashadir ambudhai shman apyadyad dvipa Varshadrivi Samam. Even as Markandeya looked on, the rain pouring down from the clouds filled the ocean more and more until that great sea, its waters violently whipped into terrifying waves by hurricane, covered up all the earth's islands, mountains, and continents. And text 15. Sashmantariksham sadvidivam sabhagwanan Trilokyamasit saha digbhir aplutam sa eka evorvarvito mahamunir babrama vikshipya jatha jadandavat. The water inundated the earth, outer space, heaven, and the celestial region. Indeed, the entire expanse of the universe was flooded in all directions, and out of all its inhabitants, only Markandeya remained. His Matajiya scattered, the great sage wandered alone in the water as if dumb and blind. All right, so Lord Prabhu, please accept my obeisances. Glories to Prabhupada. And we are actually at chapter 9, text 16. So you can go ahead and read from there if you're able.
Accept my obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Text 15, 16.
16.
16, sorry. Text 16. Shitri parato makarish timindgi lair upadroto vichi nabaswata hata tasmai swapare patito brahmandesho naveda kam kam cha Parisharamishita Translation. Tormented by hunger and thirst, attacked by monstrous macaras and timingala fish, and battered by the wind and waves, he moved aimlessly through the infinite darkness into which he had fallen. As he grew increasingly exhausted, he lost all sense of direction and could not tell the sky from the earth. Text 17:18. Rechin magno mahavrite taralais tadita quavchit yoda bair bakyaste kwape ape swayam anyoya gatibe kwachik chokam kwachin moham kwavchit dukam sukam bayam Wavchin mrityam arip note veyadya adipir utardishta. Translation. At times he was engulfed by the great whirlpools, sometimes he was beaten by the mighty waves, and at other times the aquatic monsters threatened to devour him as they attacked one another. Sometimes he felt lamentation, bewilderment, misery, happiness, or fear, and at other times he experienced such terrible illness and pain that he felt himself dying. Text 19. Ayuktayata Varshanam Sahasrini Satini Cha Vayati Yor Brahmatas Tasmin Vishnu Maya Ritat Manaha. Translation. Countless millions of years passed as Markandeya wandered about in that deluge, his mind bewildered by the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 20. Sakadachid Brahmans Tasmin Pritaviya Kakuri Dvija Nagyak Nagroda Potam Dadrishi Pala Palava Sobitam. Translation. Once while wandering in the water, the Brahmana Markandeya discovered a small island upon which he stood Once while wandering in the water, the Brahman Markandeya discovered a small island upon which stood a young banyan tree bearing blossom and fruits. Text 21. Prag utarasyam shakayam tasyapi dadrishe shesham sayanam prana puktake rahastam prabhaya tama. Translation. Upon a branch on the northeastern portion of that tree, he saw an infant boy lying within a leaf. This child's effulgence was swallowing up the darkness. Text 22-25. Mahamarikata Swanam Srimad Varana Pankejam Kavugrivam Maharaskam Shunasam Shundara Bhuvam Vasahijad Alaka Bhatam Kumbashri Karnadarimam Vidro Madara Vashishak Jo Nayata Suda Smitam Padma Garba Runa Panga Vidya Hasa Vaglokanam Vasaji Vali Samvigna Nimna Nabi Doladaram Cha Vangulubiyam Pani Boyam Oniya Charanam Bojam Moke Nidya Viprindro Dayantam Vishyak Vikyas Vishmitaha. Translation. The infant's dark blue complexion was the color of a flawless emerald. His lotus face shone with the love of beauty, and his throat bore marks like the lines of a conch shell. He had a broad chest, a fine-shaped nose, beautiful eyebrows, and lovely ears that resembled pomegranate flowers, and that had inner fold in like conch shell spirals. That had inner folds like a conch shell spiral. The corners of his eyes were reddish like the wool of a lotus, and the effulgence of his coral-like lips slightly reddened the nectarine enhancing smile on his face. As he breathed, his splendid hair trembled, and his deep navel became distorted by the moving folds of his skin on his abdomen, which resembled a banyan leaf. The exalted Brahman watched with amazement as the infant took hold of one of his lotus feet with his graceful fingers, placed a toe within his mouth, and began to suck. Purport. The young child was the Supreme Person of Godhead. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Lord Krishna had wondered, so many devotees are hankering for the nectar of my lotus feet. Therefore, let me personally experience that nectar. Thus the Lord, playing like an ordinary baby, began to suck on his toes.
All right, so you can hold it. All right, and Raghunandan, you can continue from text 26.
Tadasana Vita Paris Ramo Muda Pula Hit Padam Viluchanam Buja Rahasta Roman Dibuta Bavas Ankrita Astum Purastam Parasara Balakam. Translation. As Markandeya beheld the child, all his weariness vanished. Indeed, so great was his pleasure that the lotus of his heart, along his lotus eye, fully blossomed, and the hairs on his body stood on end. Confused as to the identity of the wonderful infant, the sage approached him. Markandeya wanted to ask the child about his identity and therefore approached him. Text 27. Suhasitina Bihagava Sunita Saviram Masaku Yadhavishat Tatrapi Adoniyastam Achasta Nasu Yadha Puramu Yad Akiva Vismitaha. Translation. Then the child inhaled, drawing Markandeya within his body like a mosquito. There the sage found the entire universe arrayed as it had been before its dissolution. Seeing this, Markandeya was most astonished and perplexed. Text 28-29. Yam Rupashi Bhaganan Adri Sagaran Dvipan Savasan Kubasurasu Anani Ishan Saritaha Purakaran Kretan Rajan Ashrama Vanavlitaya Mahanti Bhutani Ata Bhutikani Asu Kalam Chanana Yuga Kalpa Kalpanam Yat Kinchit Anyat Uyavahara Karanam Dadasha Vivam Sad Ivava Bahis Isvava Hasitam. Translation. The seed saw the entire universe, the sky, heaven and earth, the stars, mountains, ocean, great islands and continents, the expanses in every direction, the saintly and demoniac living beings, the forests, countries, rivers, cities and mines, the agricultural village and cow pastures, and the occupational and spiritual activities of a various social division. They also saw the basic elements of creation along with all the byproducts, as well as time itself, which regulates the progression of countless stages within the days of Brahma. In addition, he saw everything else created for use in material life. All this he saw manifested before him as if it were real. As if it were real. Text 30. Himalayam Puspasvaham Chatam Nadim Nijasramam Yatra Rishi Apasyata Visvam Vipasyan Chivasitach Chisuvai Bahe Nirasto Niapal Layabdo. Translation. He saw before him the Himalayan mountains, the Pushpa Bhadra river, and his own hermitage where he had the audience of a sage Narayan. Then, as Markandeya beheld the entire universe, the infant exhaled, expelling the sage from his body and cast. So he went into the body of the Lord. Wow. 31:52. Tasmin prithivya kakudi parudham patam chatat panaputi sayanam tukam chatat prima sudhasmitina nirikshitu panga niriksanina atatam balakam viksya nitrabhyam dishtitam hidi Adyayad anti saklistaha parisvaktum ahuksajam. Translation. In the vast sea, he again saw the banyan tree growing on the tiny island and the infant born lying within the leaf. The child glanced at him for the corner of his eyes with a smile embedded with the nature of love. And Kendia took him into his heart through his eyes, greatly agitated that he's running the transcendental personality of God. Some real past time there with the Lord. Text 33. Tavatsab Bhavan Saksad Yogadhi Shoguhasaya Antadadha Vishitadu Yadhi Hanisha Nimita. Translation. At the moment, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original master of all mysticism and who is hidden within everyone's heart, becomes invincible to the sage just as the achievement of an incompetent person can suddenly vanish.
All right, so you can hold that. And Lloyd Prabhu, you can continue from text 34.
Text 34. Tam anvatavato brahman salilam loka samplava hirodai chandas asya swarime puvavat itaha. Translation. After the Lord disappeared, or Brahma, the banyan tree, the great water, and the dissolution of the universe all vanish as well. And an instant Markandeya found himself back in his own hermitage, just as before. Thus ends the purport of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 12th canto, 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Markandeya Rishi Sees the Illusory Potency of the Lord.
All right, so you can continue with chapter 10.
Chapter 10, text 1. Shutta uvacha sam evam anuboyedam narena venirmitam vaibhavam yoga mayayas tam eva saranam yayav. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, the Supreme Lord Narayan had arranged this opulent display of his bewildering potency. Markandeya Rishi, having experienced it, took shelter of the Lord. Text 2. Sri Markandeya Uvacha Prapanosme Agnir Muramte Prapanana Baya Damhare Yam Baya Yapi Vibuddha Moyante Gana Kashaya. Translation. Sri Markandeya said, O Lord Hari, I took shelter of the soles of your lotus feet, which bestowed fearlessness upon all who surrender to them. Even the great demigods are bewildered by your illusory energy, which appears to them in the guise of knowledge. Purport. Conditioned souls are attracted to material sense gratification, and thus they meticulously study the workings of nature. Although they appear to be advanced in their scientific knowledge, they become increasingly entangled in their false identification with the material body, and therefore increasingly merge into ignorance. Text 3. Sutta Uvacha Tam Evam Nibrita Manam Vrishne Dviva Paryatam Rudranya Bhagavan Rujo Dadasha Swa Ganir Vrita. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, Lord Rudra, traveling in the sky on his bull and accompanied by his consort, Rudrini, as well as his personal associates, observed Markandeya in trance. Text 4. Asoma tam rishim vikya virisham samabhasata asimam bhagavan vipram prita mindriye yasam sayam. Translation. Goddess Uma, seeing the sage, addressed Lord Girisha, My Lord, just see this learned Brahman, his body, mind, and senses, motionless in trance. Text number 5. Nibrito da jasa rato vata pae yatar nava Povasya Tapasa Saksa Samsiddhim Siddhi Do Bhavan. Translation. He is calm as the waters of the ocean when the wind has ceased and the fish remains still. Therefore, my Lord, since you bestow perfection on the performance of austerity, please award the sage the perfection that is obviously due him. Text 6. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Naivikshati Asisha Kwapi Brahma Shri Moksham Api Uta Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Labdavam Purisho Fayayi. Lord Shiva replied, surely this saintly Brahmana does not desire any benediction, not even liberation itself, for he has attained pure devotion service unto the inexhaustible personality of Godhead. Translate purport. The word Naivikshya Yaksisha Vapi indicates that Markandeya Rishi was uninterested in any reward available on any planet within the universe, nor did he want liberation, for he had achieved the Supreme Lord himself.
Alright, you can hold that. Alright, so continuing with text 7. Athapi samvadishyamo bhavani etena sadhuna ayam hi paramo labho mrinam sadhu samangama. Translation. Still, my dear Bhavani, let us talk with this saintly personality. After all, association with saintly devotees is man's highest achievement. In text 8. Sutta vacha iti yukta tam upeyaya bhagavan sa satam gati ishana sarva vidyanam ishvara sarvadehinam. Sutta Goswami said, having spoken thus, Lord Shankara, the shelter of pure souls, master of all spiritual sciences, and controller of all embodied living beings, approached the sage. 9. Tayor avamanam sakshat ishayor jagad atmano na veda rudhadhi vritir atmanam vishvamevacha. Because Markandeya's material mind had stopped functioning, the sage failed to notice that Lord Shiva and his wife, the controllers of the universe, had personally come to him. Markandeya was so absorbed in meditation that he was unaware of either himself or the external world. Text 10. Bhagavam stad abhigyaya girisho yogamayaya abhishatad guhakasham vayuschidram iveshvara. Understanding the situation very well, the powerful Lord Shiva employed his mystic power to enter within the sky of Markandeya's heart, just as the wind passes through an opening. Text 11 through 13. Atmani api shivam praptam tadit pinga jatadharam trayaksham dasabhujam prasum udyantam iva bhashkaram vyagreya Sharmam Baram Shula Dhanur Ishvasi Charmabi Akshamala Damaruka Kapalam Palashum Saha Bibranam Sahasabhatam Vichaksha Hridibhishmita Kimidam Kuta Eveti Samadhera Virato Muni. Sri Markandeya saw Lord Shiva suddenly appear within his heart. Lord Shiva's golden hair resembled lightning, and he had 3 eyes, 10 arms, and a tall body that shone like the rising sun. He wore a tiger skin, and he carried a trident, a bow, arrows, a sword, and shield, along with prayer beads, a damaru drum, a skull, and an axe. Astonished, the sage came out of his trance and thought, "Who is this? Where has he come from?" And text 14. Netre unmilya dadrishe saganam somaya gatam rudram trilokaika gurum nanama shirasa muni. Opening his eyes, the sage saw Lord Rudra, spiritual master of the 3 worlds, together with Uma and Rudra's followers. Markandeya then offered his respectful obeisances by bowing his head. When Markandeya Rishi saw Lord Shiva and Uma within his heart, he immediately became aware of them and thus also of his own individual self. During his trance, on the other hand, he had simply been absorbed in awareness of the Supreme Lord and had thus forgotten himself as the conscious perceiver. In text 15. Tasmai saparayam vyadatat saganaya sahomaya swagata sanapadyargya gandashragdhupadipaki. Markandeya worshipped Lord Shiva along with Uma and Shiva's associates by offering them words of welcome, sitting places, water for washing their feet, scented drinking water, fragrant oils, flower garlands, and arati lamps. Alright, so see here. Alright, so Raghunathan, you can continue from text 16. Okay, we're not hearing you, Raghunathan. Alright, so since looks like he's unavailable, Lloyd, can you continue from text 16, please?
Text 16. Ahatmano bhavane punakamasva devibum karavama kim ashina nidam nivritam jagad. Translation. Markandeya said, Almighty Lord, what can I possibly do for you? You are fully satisfied for your own equity. Indeed, by your mercy you satisfy this entire world. Text 17. Namah Shivaya Santaya Satvaya Pramridaya Cha Rajo Josheta Guriya Namastubhyam Tamo Jishu. Translation. Again and again I offer my obeisances unto you, O all auspicious transcendental personality. As the Lord of Goddess, you give pleasure. In contact with the mode of passion, you appear most fearful, and you also associate with the mode of ignorance. Text 18. Sutta Uvacha Evam Stuta Sa Bhagavan Adi Deva Satam Gati Paritishta Prashanatma Prahasam Tam Abhasata. Translation. So to God, Swami said, Lord Shiva, the foremost and God and the shelter of the saintly devotees, was satisfied by Markandeya's praises. Please, he smiled and addressed the sage. Text 19. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Varam Vishnaswana Kamam Varadesha Vayam Traya Amogam Darshanam Yesham Mrityoya Vindati Mritam. Translation. Lord Shiva said, please ask me for some benediction, since among all the givers of benedictions, we three Brahmins, Vishnu and I, are the best. Seeing us never goes in vain, because simply by seeing us, a mortal achieves immortality. Text 20. Brahmana Sadava Santa Nisanga Bhota Vatsala Ekanta Bhakta Amaso Nevair Rasama Darshina Sa Loka Loka Palastan Pandiyachartan Ti U Pasate Aham Cha Bhagavan Brahma Swayam Cha Harir Ishvaraha. Translation. The inhabitants and ruling them because of all planets, along with Lord Brahma, the Supreme Lord Hari, and I, glorify, worship, and assist those Brahmanas who are saintly, also peaceful, free of material attachment, compassion to all living beings, purely devoted to us, devoid of hatred, and endowed with equal vision. Text 22. Nate maya chitwe chicha bedam anvapi chakshite nat manas cha janas yapi taryum yusmam vayam amahi. Translation. Those devotees do not differentiate between Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and me, nor do they differentiate between themselves and other living beings. Therefore, because you are this kind of saintly devotee, we worship you. Purport. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are respectively manifestations of the creation and annihilation policy of the personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Thus, unity exists among these three ruling deities of the material world. One should not, on the basis of the modes of nature, find material duality within the ruling policy of the Supreme Lord, although that policy is manifested in the three divisions as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva.
So you can hold that for 5. All right, Raghunandan, you can go ahead and read now.
You could hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Verse 22.
23. Adibar. 23.
23?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Verse 23. Nahi amayani chitani na deva chitano chititaha ki punanti urukalina yuyam dashana matrata. Translation. Where bodies of water do not constitute holy places, nor are lifeless statues of the demigods actual witchable deities, because external vision fails to appreciate the higher sense of the holy rivers and the demigods. This purified only after a constant, but what is the purified immediately, just by being seen. 24. Brahmanibhyo namasyamo yesmadrupam kahimayam vibrati atma samadana asvadyasya samyamaye. Translation. By meditating upon the Supreme Soul, performing austerities, engaging in Vedic study, and following regulative principles, the Brahmins sustain within themselves the three Vedas, which are non different from Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and me. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto the Brahmins. Purport. A pure devotee of the Supreme Lord is considered the most of the Brahmins, since all spiritual endeavor culminates in the loving service of God. Text 25. Savana dasanadvapi mahapatakinopika Shodhyeran antyajas chapi kimu sanadibe. Translation. Most sinners and social outcasts are purified just by hearing about or seeing personalities like you. Imagine then how purified they become by directly speaking with you. Text 26. Sutta uvacha iti dendra lalamasya dhamma pabhimitam vado mitayanam vishi Priyat Kanayo Piban. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, drinking with his heirs Lord Silva Nectarian, the confidential essence of religion, Markandeya's rishi could not be satiated. Purport. Markandeya rishi was not eager to hear himself praised by Lord Shiva, but he appreciated Lord Shiva's deep realization of religious principles and therefore desired to hear more.
All right. So it's 8:30. We can stop here tonight, and we're stopping at 26. That's 1, 2, 10, 26. Tomorrow we can continue from 27. All right, so basically what we saw here was Markandeya Rishi seeing the illusory potency of the Lord. He saw the great rain and how the entire universe was flooded, and all the living entities, they they were not available anymore. And then he saw great fish like Timingila, and they were sometimes trying to swallow him, but he alone was there, and it said 300 million years passed in that time. So this is the time of the Supreme Lord. And then finally he saw the little island with the banyan tree, and on a banyan leaf he saw the Supreme Lord lying there and sucking his toe. And then when the Lord breathed in, everything disappeared. And when he breathed out again, the entire universe was there. So this is the breathing of the Supreme Lord. That lifetime of Lord Brahma, right, which is an extremely long time. It's many, many kalpas, and a kalpa is the 4 ages taken together. So it's many kalpas that would be in the lifetime of Brahma. But all of that is one breath of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was showing him his potency, his illusory potency. He didn't want to show it to him, but he did. And when he saw the Lord, it says the infant's dark blue complexion was the color of a flawless emerald. His lotus face shone with a wealth of beauty, and his throat bore marks like the lines of a conch shell. He had a broad chest, finely shaped nose, beautiful eyebrows, and lovely ears that resembled pomegranate flowers, and that had inner folds like conch shell spirals. The corners of his eyes were reddish like the wall of a lotus, and the effulgence of his coral-like lips slightly reddened by the nectarian enchanting smile on his face. As he breathed, his splendid hair trembled, and his deep navel became distorted by the moving folds of skin on his abdomen, which resembled a banyan leaf. The exalted Brahman watched with amazement as the infant took hold of one of his lotus feet with his graceful fingers and placed a toe within his mouth and began to suck. So then he inhaled, and the sage found that the entire universe, arrayed as it had been before us, is delusion. He showed that all the water went away, and it showed the entire universe. So Markandeya was astonished and perplexed by this. He saw before him the Himalaya mountains, the Pushpabhadra river with its own hermitage, where he had the audience of the sages Narayan. And then as Markandeya Rishi beheld the entire universe, the infant exhaled, expelling the sage from his body and casting him back into the ocean of his illusion. So this is how it is. So in that vast sea, he again saw the banyan tree growing on a tiny island, and the infant boy lying within the leaf. The child glanced at him from the corner of his eyes with a smile imbued with the nectar of love, and Markandeya took him into his heart through his eyes. Greatly agitated, the sage ran to embrace the transcendental personality of Godhead. So then the Lord disappeared, and the banyan tree and the great water of dissolution of the universe all vanished as well. And in an instant, Markandeya found himself back in his own hermitage, just as before. Now, Lord Shiva and Parvati, Uma, they were seeing this. And Uma said, well, maybe Lord Shiva should give him a benediction. Lord Shiva says he doesn't need any benediction because he has attained pure devotional service unto the inexhaustible Supreme Lord. So then they came and, they spoke to him and glorified him. And in glorifying him, Lord Shiva is saying, mere bodies of water do not constitute holy places, nor are lifeless statues of the demigods actual worshipable deities, because external vision fails to appreciate the higher essence of the holy rivers and the demigods. These purify only after a considerable time. But devotees like you purify immediately just by being seen. And such is the mercy of the devotees of the Lord. So by meditating on the Supreme Soul, performing austerities, engaging in Vedic study, and following regulated principles, the Brahmins sustain within themselves the three Vedas, which are none different from Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva. And he's saying, Lord Shiva is saying, I offer my obeisances unto the Brahmins. So, this is the situation in Markandeya Rishi. Markandeya Rishi, he didn't want to hear himself praised by Lord Shiva. He did appreciate Lord Shiva's deep realization of religious principles, and therefore he decided to hear more. But he wasn't concerned about being praised. So, we can stop here tonight, and anyone has any comments, questions, or realizations on the subject matter? All right, so if nothing, we can stop here tonight. And Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Hari Hari Bol.
Hari 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 Bol.